The
Business
Oddcast.
Hello and welcome to another Business Oddcast. My name is Stuart Morrison and with me today is the magnificent...
Hannah Logan, you're Debbie McGee. Oh no, because that makes you the little guy. Yeah, no, sorry. Forget that.
The little guy with some magic.
That's magic.
That's magic. I quite like Paul Daniels.
Yeah, I like Debbie McGee. She's quite, yeah.
She was quite feisty.
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries. So, what is today's topic?
Well, so we're at the beginning of May, which is exciting. And it's exciting because the theme for the entire month is money, worth, and ND, neurodivergent business confidence.
Ooh.
Ooh, we need to do like a firework noise. Ooh.
That's
And today,
yes.
the topic of this episode is pricing when you don't trust your sense of value. This is literally a lesson for me. I'm going to take in everything you say and go away and become richer. Yeah. So
Okay. All right. Well, give us the introductory notes.
So it's a topic that I reckon a huge amount of our followers, our listeners will be able to relate to, because pricing for everybody really, but certainly for us, is rarely just maths, because for us or for me, pricing is kind of reflecting my identity. I see it as my self-worth. It's got a whole load of fear of rejection thrown in there. It's fear of not being seen as too much or not enough. You know, is it too expensive? Sorry. Oh, am I too cheap? Will you think I'm rubbish? All of those thoughts round and round and round. And I think for many neurodivergent business owners, pricing can feel really destabling because our internal sense of value is not always stable.
Yeah.
Not much of us is stable. Yeah. I could talk for myself there. You know, we've talked about it in our last episode, but time-blindness, fluctuating capacity, rejection sensitivity, RSD, my old nemesis, past instability around finances and stuff, they all distort how we calculate what something is worth.
Yes.
You know, how do we know that? Because we've got all these other elements. It's not a simple thing for us. What do I charge for this item or this time or whatever? So going into the first talking point, really, pricing is really emotionally, or can be really emotionally loaded, because it's not logical for us. So even when we think we're calculating rationally, pricing decisions are still filtered through that whole kind of identity and fear. And if we feel badly about ourselves, or we've got, for example, somebody like me, I do have a lot of RSD, then pricing is all about we don't want to put people off or upset people, or you know what I mean? There's so much more to it than it's not this is worth this. For a lot of us,
pricing is a popularity contest.
Absolutely, yeah. and you know, and then you've got the whole kind of fear of being too expensive, wanting to be liked. You don't want people. One of my biggest fears when I started business, so I haven't got it anymore, was like, I don't want there to be a crowd of people like, what? She's charging what for? You know, I'm not, if anyone's listening about my pricing, I'm not expensive. I'm the going rate. But my point being, that was really going around my brain. Like, why would anybody care about that stuff?
No. Yeah, I have heard the chorus of singing that song. It's quite an odd thing.
I think it's because... you know, some of us are confusing pricing with our personal value. We're seeing it as, what am I worth? Well, no, it's never been about what are you worth. And we'll delve more into that during this podcast. But your price, what you charge, your hourly rate or your service rate, or however you calculate the thing that you sell, be it your time or a product, is not reflective of how good or bad you are, or it certainly shouldn't be, and it shouldn't come into your calculations when you're considering what you should be charging, you know.
Yeah, I guess, but I've always reflected my pricing by what the market can stand, and whether the person standing in front of me can afford that is, I don't really care. Well, no, I don't say that in a callous way. I say that in a, when you are marketing, you are trying to fit what your service offering is and your price point to what there is a demand for. And I think that a lot of business owners get things around the wrong way anyway, because they put out a stall and go, come buy. And it's like, well, if you're not setting out a stall that people want to buy anyway, it doesn't matter what your price is. And then you're setting your own personal judgment of what you value yourself against. You're just on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The easiest way to get a finger on the pulse of what you are charging is phone the competition, submit a request, give them a brief. You know, that's not entirely possible for all businesses, but you should, if you're going to go into an industry, know roughly what the price hierarchies are. You know, a fairly newly minted designer is going to charge commensurably less than somebody who's got national campaign experience, because they're in totally different markets. Nobody who runs a small business needs somebody who has national exposure unless they are looking for some serious growth. But a newly minted, fresh out of college designer with a brand new portfolio might be just what a local hairdresser needs. So then you have to decide what your worth is based on your market. So just entirely picking a price point because you think, oh, I'm worth, I've always thought that a bit random, to be fair.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And I think the other thing that comes into the mix and muddies the waters even further is a lot of people don't fully get what their value is. I mean, I remember early on in my career, I'd already at that point got about 20 years of experience in sales and marketing. And I was like, well, the average price for somebody doing what I do is this. And then somebody came in and said, but you've got 20 years of experience in this. I'd not even considered that.
Yes, that is
like,
very
that's
marketable.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big difference that I just saw. What does somebody charge for X in this field? But I'd not added on, I had not moved up the scale, because also you look at that price, but then you work out, well, are you adding more value than somebody that just started learning that subject? Or do you know what I mean? So there's all these different, and that's what messes with my brain. There's all these different knobs that you need to move up and down a little, you know what I mean? So
it's again going out into the marketplace and putting your flag in the ground and saying this is what it is. And I guess there is always going to be an element of, it can feel scary to say to people, this is how I see myself. Yeah. Because there is an element of that, you know.
It's quite exposing, isn't it?
It is. But you should, if you are expensive, be very upfront and open about it. And expensive is not a term that I use. No. Because doing a bad job twice, that's expensive. Doing the right job and being the right side of the equation, whatever your spend is, you know, if you could help your customers to increase their business by £10,000 a month and you were only charging them 500 quid a month to do that, you are massively undervaluing yourself. You know, a good measure of worth is exactly how beneficial you are to the business. Yeah. That's why you should always be in something that company can't get rid of, like accountancy or law or
indispensable
HR, IT, that sort of stuff. It's kind of the lifeblood of a business. Yeah. So it can be sexy to be in an all new kind of exciting area and doing AI stuff, and there's a demand for that. I get it, but you know, when budgets are tight, you do the things you have to do, not the things you want to do.
Yeah.
Here endeth the lesson.
Well, I think that nicely leads us on to the next bit, really, which is about time blindness and value distortion.
Oh, hello, Captain Time-blindness here. I think we discussed this at quite some length in the last episode.
We did.
Yes, time blindness is just awful. especially when you're looking to value yourself, because you can think, oh, that'll take me an hour, and then 3 hours in, after having done another research deep dive on a couple of YouTube rabbit holes, just so you fully understand the full context of the customer's business model. I'm not saying that that's something I've done, but that's something I've done. I decided that my ability to judge my value over time was likely to be wrong. And I now have a process where I've got somebody who's got like the opposite version of time-blindness. It's like, what would that be? Like time 2020?
Awareness. Yeah, no, what is it? Yeah, time 2020. I like that. Yeah.
And he's always over pessimistic. That time blindness thing can really cripple your business, because every job takes longer than you expect it to, or rather, sorry, every job takes longer than you've priced for, and that's just devaluing your price per hour. So it doesn't even matter if you've got a high price per hour. If you're giving away hours with every job, that's like a leaking ship.
That is literally my whole life. That is literally my whole life. And the problem for me is that I know how long it should take, like the average time it should take, and yet like you said, I'll take a deep dive on something to get more background, information I don't really need, but I like it. My brain likes all that information. So
yes, this is where the value distortion comes in, the just jobs, where they go, oh, would you just do? And that's another hour that they've just tacked on to your, and you feel that sense of, there's an amount of goodwill that has to come with every relationship. But it's always funny how the will is good on your behalf.
Yeah, it's just taking the piss at that point.
At that point, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, making sure that those just jobs don't crop up too often. And when they do, this is what I would suggest every business does. Doesn't matter whether or not you've reduced the invoice to zero, the line item should still be on the invoice. So if they've asked you to do something, you put it on there and you zero it down, but you can account for it then. And then you can look back over your year and see how many hour jobs you did just for free. And when that number hits you, like it did me, like a truck, and you put the commensurate value against those hours that you've given away, and you think, I could have easily had an extra £1,000 in my pocket. And if the person says no, well, what? You've got all those hours left to sell again. So you're going to end up the right side of that equation every time.
It's just so frustrating, isn't it? And I think I do work with people where I kind of do, an hour here and an hour there, but it never is an hour, and that's not on me. What I mean is if I was doing an hour of good work, there's a whole buffer either side of that hour, the preparation for the good work, and then do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It isn't just, it's not like you sit down, you press a button and you're just firing off at 100%, and then you press a button at the end of the hour. It doesn't work like that.
No.
I don't get to my computer raring for a solid peak performance hour. It takes a while to warm myself up.
There's also the hyperfocus part of it as well, and the monotropism of the hyperfocus, that when you're locked in, the wrench to you and the context shift. I find the hardest days for me are when I've got 4 or 5 smallish but very detailed jobs to do. Probably around projects, maybe around accounts and finance, or sometimes coding. And I have to context switch between a design problem, a coding problem, an accounting thing, doing 4 compliance things, and answering 4 phone calls. That in a day will fry my brain. And then you wake up the following day and have to price a job. Oh.
Absolutely painful. Now onto the comparison
We're going to be looking at comparison spiral. Tell us what that is. Comparison spiral? Sounds intriguing.
I think it sounds a lot more exciting than it really is. Comparison is awful, right? We all know that. We're all told our entire lives, don't compare yourself to other people. And yet, for a lot of us, or for probably most people,
Well, no, you see, I do compare myself to other people, and I find other people wanting in almost every capacity.
You're like, yep, still not as good as me.
Everybody's a constant disappointment to Stuart More Awesome.
So comparison distorts our pricing models dramatically because, especially for neurodivergent brains, we often compare qualifications, confidence, visibility, output, all of this crap that that's forced upon us to compare. And then we probably invariably conclude that we should charge less because if we feel, if we find ourselves not living up to this comparison with other people, then we can conclude, oh, well, I'm not quite as good as all of them.
Oh, no. No, yet again, this is where Stuart's distortion lens fails to see how people end up with that kind of thinking. So let me give you an explanation. So when I first started out as a lookalike, I was charging between £250 and £350 a gig. Okay, and a gig wasn't just an hour; it was maybe a day of my life, because by the time you've travelled to the gig, done whatever you needed to, you may have even had to stay over and then driven back the next day. That's a day of your life you're not getting back. So, but 250, 350 quid, this was late 90s, early noughties.
Yeah.
That was not bad, given that I was also running a business. So I could have a day out on my business and make 300 quid. It soon becomes, like any other job, painful because the cost that you're giving to your business is you a day out of it. There's more than that amount that you're making back in disruption. Anyway, the long and the short of it was I met a fabulous guy and a chap called Gavin Pomfret. If you're out there listening, Gavin, hi, hello.
Shout out to Gavin.
And he gave me a complete reality check about pricing. And we turned it on its head. And we used to use our pricing model to prove the quality of what we were providing as a lookalike double act. And this was the value change that we made. We went to a marketplace that was being sold £300 acts, and we told them, you're now going to have to spend minimum £3,000. They look at those £300 acts completely differently when they see the quality of what they get for £3,000. And suddenly, because we were a good act, we were a good act, we were tight, the money we spent on our costumes, one of my costumes was more than my wife's wedding dress. But the point to it was, they could have somebody who turned up in a fancy dress outfit for 300 quid, or they could have something that was almost the televisual equivalent in front of them.
Yeah.
And quite often those budgets wanted the very best. And so we used to say to people, oh, if your budget's not there, we can offer you a budget alternative. And we would send them to our competitors and they would look at them in comparison and go, oh yeah, we can see why they're 300 quid. So that's what I'm saying is, don't judge your value on your own value. You have to think about your customer and what their value is. And if they're booking a suite at the Dorchester to put on an event, they are not worried about the difference between £300 and £3,000. But it's a stake in the ground that says that's how good we are. And people would talk about us behind our back about our high price as if that was a negative thing. It was
look at those people making all that money.
Exactly. It's like,
bastards.
What? So, yeah, I would suggest that there is a certain notoriety that comes with charging at the top end to a clientele that can afford it, because your reputation is sealed within that. So there is a sense of personal value, but you've raised it to that ultra professional level. Yeah. And I would this is my thinking. I would much rather be an ultra niche barber that only worked with a specific clientele and a very small roster of customers than a high street retail barber.
Absolutely that. And it makes what you're saying makes so much sense. But throw a little spanner in the works.
Okay.
What happens when our nemesis, or some of our nemesis, imposter syndrome, comes in?
Tie them to a chair.
Put a bag over
ball
his head.
gag on their mouth and a bag over their head. Tell them to shut up.
Because that is, and I'd imagine I'm not alone here, or certainly people listening in and stuff. I go, even today, generally I know that I'm really good at what I do. Like the majority of me knows that. And I'll do a bit of work and that reinforces it, etc., etc. But occasionally there's a little voice that's like, what if they find out? What if they find out that actually you're really rubbish? It's all just a lie. And that little horrible inner critic, imposter, does exist in my body, in my brain.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I understand it. And also, there's a lot of privilege going on for me. If you've not watched me or know nothing about me, it may come as a complete shock to find out I'm a white middle-aged guy with all my opinions and privilege. So I do understand that when I stand in a room and I stand there with authority, a lot of that is afforded to me by society. Okay, so I'm not blind to that at all. And that imposter syndrome can be really loud for people who do not fit that model. So I get it, and I do understand it, and I do acknowledge it, and I will hold space for it and not diminish it. But I do think at some point you have to go and do what I call the hair treatment.
Oh.
The hair treatment is because you're worth it. You're there.
I love it.
You're there because you're worth it.
Yeah.
If you weren't worth it, you wouldn't be there. And every time I find myself in increasingly rarefied circles, I think to myself, yeah, I've worked hard to be here. Oh, yeah, this is about right. And more of it. And I want to be representative of my tribe, my clan, my heritage. I'm not going to diminish any of that or listen to it be diminished. And that's why people like me need to stand in those rooms, and people like you and people like the people listening to this need to be heard by those people that have stood in those rarefied rooms and not had people of difference at an equal level to them, talking to them as equals. And you are worth it. You are 100% worth it. And I can sit and make all sorts of prognostications from this podcast, but if there's one thing I want the people who are listening to this to know, anything you attempt to do or try to do it, you are capable of doing it, you are worthy of doing it, and you should go out and do it, and no other voice should enter into the question of whether you should do it other than your own self-value.
I'm into that. It's completely, one of my favourite people who's also one of our biggest fans, quick shout out to Charlie Ruttle.
She's
Ruttle. Incredible. She became self-employed less than a year ago. I hope I've got that right, Charlie, if you're listening. And she has achieved so much, building a community for neurodivergent people, working really intensely in AI. She's incredible at what she does, and yet so humble. And actually really quite clueless about how good she is.
Oh, they're the gold.
But she doesn't, and I'm actually giving her probably the team talks you give me. when she's like, I don't know why I won an award, because I'm just doing a thing, but I'm not very good. And oh my goodness. And I say, you are incredible. That's why you got the award. But I see it all the time. And that imposter syndrome, and it's just cruel. It's like having a bully on your shoulder that's like, you are really shit, and they're going to work it out soon. And it's just that horrible.
Oh, well, you don't have to have that anymore.
No.
If that bully pops up, look on your other shoulder, and Stu and Hannah are standing there going, well, there's two of us, and there's only one of him, so are you going to listen to that?
We're going to punch it in the face.
Yeah. We were talking about bullies over lunch earlier.
Oh, we were.
Yeah.
They're the scum of the earth.
Scum of the earth.
I want to fight them all, but then that would make me a bully. Or would it? Or would it be self-defense? Anyway, that's a question for another time.
That's another topic for another day, definitely. Next thing is the capacity, anxiety, and defensive pricing. And I hear this and I can see it and I understand it and I don't want to diminish it, but there comes a point in being a business where you have to divorce how you feel about the price. Now, I'll give you an example of this in my own sphere. We have a business and it's a burger business. It sells product, burgers. And you can go and order a burger. Now, you can go to McDonald's and get one really cheap, but we are serving a premium product. And we can only serve so many of them per hour, so we have priced ourselves accordingly. And there are some people locally who say that it's an expensive burger. And I would say it's priced at a point that we can sell it at. And I think that a lot of the time when you put your price out there, you have to just accept that there are going to be some people who say that's expensive. There just are. And there should be. You should elicit a response where if you are selling a premium product, you don't want everybody to have it.
Or it's not premium at that point, is it?
Well, that's why these large premier brands have their retail versions. You know, the large couture houses, they have their off their peg, you know, by Armani editions and stuff. And you can do it in your own business, but the risk that you have to realise is that it has to be click-were to be a retail end of the market, that it doesn't take tons of your time to deliver the end result for the customer, because otherwise you'll go broke relatively quickly. You can't defensively price against somebody with deeper pockets. You just can't.
No.
And a national brand that wants to own the space that you exist in will just suck the customer oxygen away from you by just offering discounts for however they can do it for as long as they can until all the local business goes pop. And that's been the model for years. So don't compete in that space.
And also, like any industry, there are different levels. You know, there is not one price for a takeaway burger, as you've just explained. You know, there's a massive scale.
Yeah.
From like the ones that are made out of squashed up mice to your nostrils.
Yes, but that was your fault for going to squashed mice and fries.
I love that place. Great milkshakes. We are just talking so much rubbish at this point. It's brilliant. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, though. That is...
But I get it. I get it that there is also that capacity risk where you're like, I know that this may take me twice as long as I'm pricing for because my brain refuses to chooch when I demand it needs to. And I get that. But in the human condition, there is a wide range of different capacities for many varied different reasons. I just cannot understand why other humans can't go, oh, you can't do that. Oh, right. Oh, that's interesting. What can you do? Oh, that's brilliant. I'll go and do some more of that then. Rather than going, you can't do this, but I can do this really well. You should be able to do it as well as I should. Look at you. You're twice as tall as me. Right? Why is that the model?
It drives me crazy. And not only are they comparing in that example to themselves, but they're also, don't forget the societal poster that says, oh, but you should be able to do it like this.
Yeah.
Because we've decided that the average group of the majority do it this way. So anything less than that
you're not
means
trying.
that you're deficit.
Yes.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because I didn't meet your made-up frickin' number on a thing that isn't real. Yeah. What? Bullshit. Sorry. Can you tell, listeners, that it gives me the rage?
So, let's move along.
Yeah, Hannah explodes.
Hannah's threatening me.
Oh, so we've touched on a bit of sort of RSD and the way that it can impact the way that we sort of work out our pricing and stuff. But actually, it also impacts conversations around pricing and billing and things like that. So for a lot of ND people, pushback on price doesn't feel like a kind of to and fro negotiation. Often it feels like a personal rejection. You know, Stuart, this is what it's going to cost me to write you a blog. Oh, really? Blimey, John down the road can do it for half the price. I don't think good luck with that then, mate. Go and get a shit one from John. I think, yeah, he's right. I overprice because I'm rubbish. In fact, I don't think that anymore. I'm playing old Hannah.
Yeah.
Old Hannah 20 years ago would have been like, oh, okay, I'll do it for free because I'm just so rubbish. I'll beg you to let me write your blog for you.
I'll pay you if you publish my blog.
I'll pay you if you let me write for you. So this RSD trigger can lead to sort of immediate discounts, which is one thing. You know, oh, don't worry, I'll give you mates rates, or just for you, and you know, all this kind of, you know, you know that the price should be here, but by the time the end of the deal, you're charging, you know, 20% less. But also, it can lead, and this can be, I do fall into this camp occasionally. I'm sure loads of people listening do as well. It leads to over-explanation. You don't have to. I mean, Stu will tell you in a minute for sure. You do not have to justify your price. And Stuart, I'm sure, will say to you, that's your price. That's your price. This is what it costs. If you can't afford it, you're very welcome to shop elsewhere, or, you know, the equivalent of a business conversation. And yet I think a lot of us feel like they've got to, you know, but for that you get this and this, you know. Of course, when you are putting a proposal together for somebody, whether it's a verbal one or an actual document dependent on the project, yeah, you need to break it down. You're not just going to say, oh, that will take me a week, or what does that involve, Hannah? Just a week. You don't need to know the detail. Well, they do need to know a bit the detail if they're paying for that time. But, you know, sometimes also, and I've done this too, which is embarrassing, we can get defensive. You know, we're not only over-justifying ourselves, but we can get a bit defensive because at that point we think we've been rejected. So at that point we're having an argument with somebody that's literally had an opinion on our pricing. And it, you know, it can fall into, if we're not careful, we shouldn't be doing this anyway in an ideal world, but we can't always stop this stuff. But it could fall into that kind of, she doth protest too much.
Yeah.
Why is she over-explaining? Why she's charging? You know, at that point, if I have to tell you how great or how valuable my product is in an over-explaining way, then you're going to start questioning. Yeah, I shouldn't have to sell myself.
No,
that hard, right?
I'm listening with intent, and I've got the answer.
I knew you would. I mean, a lot of
well,
us...
I've got the answer that I use. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's what I do.
It will be very workable, and it will really... I mean, a lot of us, me included, really, really try and avoid negotiation because it's just small talk on steroids for me.
Oh yeah, no, you want to get into it, negotiating.
It's like having a small talk conversation, but you're naked. It's awkward.
Oh.
It's awkward. You're trying to cover up your important parts whilst trying to remind them that you're really worth every bit of what you're trying to. Oh, it's brutal.
It's very exposing.
We need your answer, Stuart, because it's horrible.
So this requires a level of confidence, but it also requires a level of competence. Okay, if you're a complete dick and your product or services are shit, this will not work. All right, just don't attempt this.
The Mouse Burger place, do not listen to
Mouse
this.
Burger. Yeah, Mouse Burger and fries. This will not work for you. We are onto you. You're a milkshake away from bankruptcy. If you've just tuned in, ladies and gentlemen, this is the weirdest business podcast in the world.
You're going to think we're both having a stroke or something.
No, the attitude to take, and this works for a consultant. This works for somebody in a professional services capacity. This might not work in retail. Your mileage may vary, and it comes with a certain degree of risk. So, but all business comes with risk, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you get the big reward. You take a big risk. So the way that I play my consultative persona is benign cynicism. Let me explain that. So when you go to the doctor, he takes what you're saying on surface level, but he's probing deeper with his questions afterwards. So when he's listening to you, he's got that kind of like, well, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm not believing a word of it until I have witnessed some of this on... that just kind of not an aloofness,
They want the
not
proof.
a coldness, not a distance, just a like, I'll take that under advisement, you know. And then you list all of the reasons why their plan is shit, right? But you just don't say that. You do the shit sandwich, you know.
Ah,
Well, look, about this project, that's fantastic, that's brilliant, that's superb.
you're amazing.
The person who came up with that, was that you? Yeah. It's just that bit's the genius bit. We're not changing a word of that. But was this someone else who did all this? No, that was me too. Well, this bit.
You're a dig.
Well, Dave did talk to me about that earlier, so it's probably Dave's fault. Yeah, Dave was an idiot. Dave did all this, did he? Yeah, he did all that. Right, that's all shit. We're going to get rid of that. And then we'll do this bit at the end. And then here we go. This is sprinkle. I'll put some sprinkle on the top. My magic sprinkle. And my magic sprinkle costs a little bit more than other people's sprinkles, but it's magic sprinkle. And they go, oh, okay, all right, fine. And you say, but, you know, of course, it's going to be dependent on the budget if you can get anywhere near that. So what are we looking at? And then you leave a silence.
So you ask their budget
Yeah,
first.
you want to know what the budget is.
Yeah.
I want to know whether or not what you've told me you need and your budget are aligned. Because surely
Yeah.
you've got a budget. Yeah, but what could you do it for? Well, I could do it for 3 times as much as your budget, and we're not going to get anywhere. Until I know your budget, I'm going to go anywhere close to it. I'm not playing pin the budget on the project. You have a budget. What is your budget? And they've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And the point is, I am solving a problem for them. They have a gap between the money in their bank account and where they need to be, which is what this project is. So as long as I can align what I can deliver from that project to get them to the minimum viable point across the line for their budget is usually what wins the day. So when you're negotiating, you're not negotiating the budget. The budget is set. That's your budget. Right. Okay. How close can we get your project to the perfect version of what you want with that budget? There is a certain amount of self-confidence that you just need in business, and no amount of outsourcing, business intelligence, consulting gurus are going to change your world until you step up and go, I am worth this. And not only that, this is the shift you have to make in your head. If you're just pricing and you're just pricing to earn, that's fine. But if you're doing running a business that's got a cause or a mission or a why that is mattering to you, and that can be just to put food on the table for your children, then you are driven, and you're way more driven to self-improve, because other people, and this is what I find, if other people are relying on me, I'm much likely to be better than if I'm relying on my own output. Self-motivation is difficult for me. Unless I've got a dog with a, if I'm improving the house for the family, that job's more likely to get done than me to do a project for my own self.
I can relate to that.
So I think that when you're pricing, if you can remember that I'm doing this for more than just my self-worth, oh, that's nice. I feel imposter syndrome, but I need to put food on the table for my family and for the people I employ as well. I feel a real sense of importance that the people I work with get paid their due promptly and at their fair market value.
Kind of leads us really nicely into the next point, really, which was the kind of, and I've experienced this 100%, the grateful to be paid pattern.
Yeah, I think we just covered that as well, because there has to come a point where you put your flag in the ground and you say, this is my business, this is what I do, and this is what I am charging.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I think the problem sometimes can be that a lot of, unfortunately, but quite a few neurodivergent people maybe have had a history of kind of employment issues, or, starting a job, losing a job, that instability, and that can often lead to financial instability. Or also a lot of us have got into debt through impulsive buying and, naivety and all that shizzle. So I remember when I was first self-employed and invoicing people, when they paid, I was like, yeah, like I did feel grateful to be paid, even though I couldn't convert it into my brain. Or I gave them a really good thing and they're paying me back for it. Now I obviously see that completely, but I think there can still be that kind of grateful to be paid pattern, because it's based on that kind of panic of, or you're waiting for that money to come in.
Oh yeah, no.
And it's you've got an irrational, or some people have an irrational view of money because of that kind of history. And I think that, you've touched on that really. That can also be a thing that panics a lot of us. Oh, well, I don't want them to go elsewhere. I mean, I know that you've just explained brilliantly why that does not need to be a fear. And it makes so much sense what you're saying. And yet I still think a lot of people do, that's why a lot of people, not me anymore, thank goodness, but that's why a lot of people do undercharge, because they forget that actually they're better off, charging people their going rate and servicing less people than having to eventually discount it to half the price and having to service double the people. So you know what I mean? There's not always, a lot of this stuff is often driven by the kind of emotional, paranoid, bad self-worthy kind of stuff. And you have got an amazing force field to a lot of that shit. And you've taught me so much because of it. It's
the power
brilliant.
comes in the silences.
Yeah.
And if you deliver your price with an apology and an explanation and 3 PowerPoint slides, then you're negotiating from weakness. When you say, this is my price and this is what it's going to take for me to devote some of my life force, the very thing of my being that exists only in this realm for a short period of time, and divert it to pay your trifling worries. I know that makes me sound really up myself.
It doesn't, though.
The point to it is that the project engages me at a certain value. Below that, there's not enough in it for me. There's just it's not as an exciting enough proposition. Because also I know that whilst they're looking at it, I know what it was going to need behind the scenes to get it to where they need it to be. All of the organising, all of the planning, all of the things, the dotting and the crossing of the I's and the T's. And if I can make it work on their budget, I'm excited. If I can't, part of my brain is like, well, part of the solution to this problem is they don't have enough money. That's I've calculated this problem from all the way around. Is that a fair price? Well, relatively speaking, yeah, that's in the region of fair. Okay, we can achieve that on that budget, or not. Or they're so far divorced from where their budget is that I haven't even got time to explain to them why their budget is so little, and I will just wish you a good day. If I think somebody could be talked into the correct budget, and this is why you're solving a problem, you're not selling anything. Stop selling things, people. You're solving problems. That's all you are. Sit down with an interested face, ask lots of questions, figure out what you can do to solve the problem, apply your matrix of money and pricing, and then that's it. That is it. That's what we can do for you for that price. Silence. Sit there. Sit on your hands. Every part of your being is going to say, justify, 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 justify. Shut it up.
Negotiate.
Yeah. Dig your fingernails into the palms of your hands. Bite your tongue. Curl your toes up. That social shame of, I'm going to just self-combust because I've said something and they're not speaking.
That painful silence.
But they're thinking. And the more thinking time you give them, the better chance you have of getting a win. Because as soon as you start talking again, they go from thinking to listening. Different part of your brain, completely different. They're starting to now process again. And you've just diverted them from listening to your price. So even on a cognitive level, it's the worst thing to do, is to give somebody a piece of hard factual information and then completely keep talking at them.
I'm going to make a note of that, Stu. I never stop talking, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle.
Give them your price.
Yeah.
That's your price.
The hell up.
Then shut up. And then if there is a power game to play, be comfortable in the silence. Because the other person may be going, he who talks first wins. Loses.
Yeah.
He who talks first loses. And they might be playing that. I will play that right out the door, into the lift, down to the car and away home. I haven't spoken to my wife for 2 weeks until they say yes or no.
Just like walk out the room and wait,
Just,
let
yeah.
them like, what?
Where's he gone? The takeaway from that is, if you have genuinely looked at their problem and you believe you can help it at the price point that you feel comfortable at, then work with the person, because through your endeavours you can show them your value and increase your value, perceived value in their business to them, by pointing out the deficits in their budget once they start to trust you. So don't, I'm not saying charge through the nose for everything you do to everyone. Do a few pro bono works if they're exciting. I've done work that I've found exciting at almost no income for the time expended, but I just wanted to add them to the experiences of doing those jobs and being involved in those projects. But by the same token, you've also got to charge, and having a sense of what is appropriate for your time to be diverted away from your own particular needs and projects, then charge accordingly. And usually small businesses are terrible at charging enough.
So that, I think we've done such a fab job. Hopefully the listeners are agreed.
Hopefully there's some information there that you've found useful.
We've given them a lot of info, but also it's just all really, really valuable stuff. And for me, this subject is something that I've still struggled many years later and still continue to some degree to struggle with.
So what are your takeaways? What are your thoughts?
So, my takeaways, my top tips.
Your top
no,
tips.
I'm not the top tips.
You're
I'm the takeaways.
takeaways.
Be quiet, Hannah. I'm so keen. I'm galloping to the end without doing my bit. So yeah, the things we've gone over really, but pricing is filtered through our self-worth a lot of the time, and it mustn't be. We need to take away the fact that, no pun intended, we need to remove ourselves from the value. Our price, what we charge for the service that we deliver, is not based on what we value ourselves at as humans.
When I first started, I would have Stuart, who set the prices, and Stuart, the salesman. And I would talk about our pricing and our prices as if it was inviolate, and I would have to go and talk to the board to get a pricing variation.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You can blame other Stuart.
Well, no, I just used to say, well, our pricing menu allows for this, but we don't have that kind of flexibility. I'd have to go and have a conversation about that.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. That's another good tip.
No, even if they think you're only a one-man band, how do they know you don't have other people?
Yeah, you might have a friend in your head that you have to have a chat with. I have quite a few of those, actually.
Anyway, carry on.
Sorry. And time-blindness. Don't forget, people, time-blindness, or our tendency to have that, some of us have that, can affect your value. You might, as I have done in the past, you might quote an hour or two. It takes you 3 weeks, then you're just screwed, really. So, and rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria complicates negotiations. So remember, it isn't personal. If they look shocked at your price, it's not because you're overcharging, it's because they haven't got any money.
What if they were shocked because they couldn't believe how cheap you were?
Oh, yeah.
And you misread it?
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
How much? Oh, well, I'm really sorry. No, you're fine.
And you can have it cheaper. Oh, okay. Oh, my gosh. And also, take a deep dive into what is the going rate in your industry. Do your research, like Stuart said, and then base your experience, the services that you offer, etc., base that on the research you've done, or pick a midpoint, or you want to be the upper end, whatever. But then I found that if you then doubt what you're charging, you can remind yourself I've said this in the past, I wouldn't recommend it, but I've said this in the past, it's the going rate in the industry, because if they try and haggle with you, you can just say that is what anybody will charge you, pretty much. Up a bit, maybe down a bit, but and lastly, from a takeaways, we just all need to stay aware that we have a tendency to undercharge, and a lot of us are coming out the other side of that, or have already come out the other side of that. But there will be loads of you out there listening that are still kind of like, I charge £5 an hour. I think that's okay. No, it isn't. Times that by 10 or whatever it is you need to charge to, like Stuart said, to live the life you need to live, right?
I'll have a conversation with you. That will change your pricing.
Oh my God, literally a 1-to-1 with Stu. 20 minutes, you're done. So Stuart, tips? Got any tips?
Well,
and
the first
tricks?
thing is put all of the work that you do in your diary, okay? And not only record what you've done, but record what you thought you were going to do it in. So when you look at your diary, you can go, oh, that job took 6 hours, and I quoted 4. Okay, so the next time I do that job, I'm going to have to quote, I did learn some things and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have to quote at least 5 hours. And then if the person says no, you think to yourself, whew, dodged a bullet, because I have not given away a free hour. And that's the shift in your head of tracking your hours, is not the keeping a slavish devotion for accounting purposes, is you can see without a question how people value your time and how you value your time. So keep track of your time.
Nice.
Number 1. I would also suggest, and depends on your pricing model, depends on a few things, but add additional 20% to your pricing for 2 reasons. Okay. I'm talking mostly to a UK audience, but apply a different percentage in your own region accordingly. Because in the UK, VAT is at 20% across the board, pretty much. Not for everything, but pretty much. Let's just assume it's 20%. Now, if you're growing your business, at some point you are going to cross the VAT threshold, which is, I believe, £125,000.
I think so, yeah. That would be a nice problem to have.
Well, yeah. Now, the point to this is everyone getting to that threshold has this problem. Do I add VAT or do I include it in my already existing pricing structure? And they only reach that problem when they hit the £125,000 or close thereto turnover in a year or 12 months. So why not eliminate that problem by charging that 20% upfront anyway? And it'll be an early buffer against price mismatch. And as you get better at pricing, therefore you'll be more efficient, but you still keep the 20% because guess what? You're going to cross that £125,000 threshold and it will be of no consequence because you'll be able to price absorb it. And at that point, you'll be big enough to then work out pricing strategies to ameliorate any further impact.
That is a really, really, all of your advice is awesome, but that is particularly good.
Last few 3 things, they're fairly self-explanatory. Script pricing conversations ahead of time. I'm not saying that you read from a prompt every time that you speak to someone, but get used to saying the words and believing them and being convicted in them is 90% of getting rid of imposter syndrome. Because if you believe what you're saying, you're pretty much certain that the person opposite you is going to. So just script those conversations and say them. Practice saying them. Say them into a mirror. If you don't like looking in a mirror, say them against a wall. But get the muscle memory going in your face to say the right thing at the right time, because our brain can suddenly go squirrel and you're like, what was I talking about? If your brain knows the path that it's going to roll down, it's more likely to go there. So practice that. And the final 2, sometimes you can do a discount, but don't rely on discounting. Don't make that your primary marketing advantage, because somebody with deeper pockets will come along, somebody who can underprice you, doesn't have the overheads, doesn't see all the problems that you see. You know, I've had somebody who was a customer of mine, was waste disposal, and he said, I can't compete against the guys who are fly tipping because I have all of the overheads. And I said, yes, so you make a absolute song and dance about how your disposal is correct and legal, and you'll give a waste transfer notice and make that your number 1 message in your marketing. And he did, and it seemed to have stayed the flow of customers. Because I've not heard from him. I gave him that for free, and he's
now he's a millionaire somewhere. Brilliant.
And the final one, review your pricing and do it quarterly. And you might be even just to the point of like, has recent economic events overtaken my pricing models? Just keep an eye on them, because those margins can erode almost unseen. I halved my rate during COVID, mostly just to keep the doors open. and it sort of washed its face for a while, and then we increased it back, but we didn't increase it back fully, and then we've just recently increased it from where it was pre-COVID. And I still think we're maybe a little light, a little cheap, and we may review that, but I've got other projects at the moment. The point is, keep your eye on your margins, keep your eye on your pricing. Final thing, go into your subscriptions and cancel any that you're not using. You won't need them, you won't miss them. Oh, what about all the stuff off lose? You won't forget about it. Unless you need it for compliance, say goodbye, clear out the cupboard.
You probably don't even know you've got half of them. I did that the other day. I was like, Calm app. Not looked at that in about 400 years. How much is that costing me? Good Lord. It's actually quite good, I realise. Been paying for it for about 5 years.
The point to it is, don't rely on anyone else to gauge what you're worth. Don't look at other people's pricing points and go, oh, well, I should be charging more, less, whatever. Go away and have a frank conversation with yourself about what you want out of your business and what it's going to require you to get there, and then judge whether or not you've got the energy versus the hours that you're going to have to work to reach that income at the price point you're currently charging. And let that also factor. That was what I realised, is that I was not charging enough for the energy I had.
Yeah.
25 hours productive a week. Anything more than that, and I start to erode.
Yeah, I hear you. Yep.
So, I have to make those the most productive hours of my week, and they can come any day, but they're enough for a living wage.
Yeah.
And that's just one of my businesses. The other businesses don't require as much of my time, but they don't earn as much as my consulting business. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
It is. And it's like, it's like what Stuart said. You have to fit your model to your life. And that's I preach about that all the time.
Yeah.
We all have different, what does successful look like? We all have different successfuls. Some of it is not working a 40-hour week. Some of it's, that work-life balance, hopefully, is all of our success barometer, because it's vital, especially if you've got a ND brain.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's this week, rounded up, wrapped up. I'm hoping that between our random ramblings and lived experience, you've learned something, and there's possibly something that you can take away and add to your own arsenal of business tools. If you've liked what we've said, then maybe like, share, subscribe, do all of the like, share and subscribe things. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to be a guest, email hosts@businessoddcast.com and let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear your comments, whether you like us, dislike us, whatever. We'll read whatever out.
Not the bad stuff. If it's bad, I'm just going to delete it.
No, I'm going to read it out and mock it.
We're going to heckle you.
Yeah, heckle you back.
Yeah, that will get them off, Stu.
So, Hannah, before we say goodbye, what is next episode's topic?
So next week is another one, a feast for your eyeballs. It's another of our magnificent blogs.
Wow.
And it's called, this is going to be a good one. This is a good one, actually. I know it is. It's called Money, Worth and the ND Stress Response. So we touched on this a little bit with this episode. But, it's looking at sort of how past instability, money anxiety, inconsistent income, nervous system hypervigilance.
Oh, I can already feel the trauma response.
Actually, I'm feeling a bit edgy just saying this out loud. It's just looking at how all of that shizzle, quite frankly, shapes our relationships with money and financial safety.
Oh, I look forward to writing that one.
It's going to be really cheery. It's going to have a happy ending, Stu, because it ends with us giving a whole ton of awesome advice to take away, because I'm sure we've all had everybody, it's not just a neurodivergent thing, but it is, I think, probably more prevalent in us. Everybody must have money insecurities, unless you're like, I don't know, somebody super zillionaire somewhere. But actually, hopefully, you'll get to the end of this blog and get some tips. Again, that's what we're all about, giving you some tools to make life a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Or if nothing else, compare your experience of the world, of your inner landscape, with those others like yourself, and go, oh, actually, it's not that odd.
At least I'm not alone.
At least
Got
I'm
all these
not-
mentalists around as well. Sorry, that's a terrible word. Got all these spicy brain, magnificent humans.
Awesome humans.
Awesome humans.
Everyone. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your contributions today, Hannah. I've been
Pleasure.
wowed and amazed by all of it. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Step away from PAYE. Don't do it.